who is also the 60th Republican President. It is a very solemn occasion, and it has been made even more solemn by the controversies that have been brought on this funeral by the government of the Republic of Zambia, which has deprived us of the opportunity to mourn in peace our beloved former president. We are here to clarify and also to inform the nation on a number of key issues, including issues related to the funeral arrangements for our beloved former Republican president, as well as to respond to a number of media propaganda, specifically coming from government media houses and their appendages relating to the debacle that has been there regarding the funeral arrangements of Dr. Edgar Chagwa. So that is the long and short of the purpose of this press briefing. I must re-echo the words of the acting PF President, as well as acting Tonse Alliance Chairman, Honorable Given Lubinda, that we apologize for starting this press briefing late. However, you need to bear with us. We have a funeral, and when you have a funeral, there are always a lot of things that arise which we do not plan for. Therefore, you need to bear with us. Another issue that made us to delay in commencing our press briefing, which was initially scheduled for 10 o'clock this morning, is the issue of the venue. The issue of the venue for the press briefing. We approached a number of private entities to host our press briefing, and some of them initially agreed. We even remitted a payment, only to call us on the last minute saying that they've decided not to proceed with our using their venue. Despite our protests, some of them decided to just refund our money and prevented us from holding the press briefing. So you can clearly see that there is a clear pattern of harassment in terms of our ability to relate with the Zambian people by forces and by individuals who do not want us to mourn our beloved Republican president in peace. However, countrymen and women, members of the media, we are here now. We are here and we are ready to proceed with the press briefing. And at this point, allow me to call upon Honorable Given Lubinda, the acting PF President, as well as acting Tonse Alliance Chairman. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Members of the press, I would like to join the Director of Ceremonies and President Sean Tembo in rendering to you our profuse apology for starting this press briefing so late. It is not in our habit to keep members of the press waiting for us. We normally like to wait for members of the press because we are calling you here because we know that it is only through you that we can communicate the messages that we have. But I'd like to thank you for being patient, and I don't want to waste any more time. My colleagues, leaders of the various political parties that are part of the Tonse Alliance, thank you very much for coming to flank me this afternoon. As President Sean Tembo has already stated, we are alive to the various comments, misgivings, and arguments made by various stakeholders concerning the impasse and the subsequent decision by the family to bury the mortal remains of Dr. Edgar Chagwa in South Africa. We now wish to clarify some of these misunderstandings and would like to present our understanding and interpretation of the events that have been unfolding. Right from the date of the demise of our departed dear President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, we in the Alliance have stated that our position has been that we shall be guided by the family and that we will only give advice to the family when we are required to do so. And I have to state that that has not been the case at all. We still remain steadfast in that position. The position of being guided by the family on matters to do with the funeral procession of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And in trying to make the public understand our position, I'll go through the various pertinent issues that have been subject of debate in the media. To do that, I would like to first start with the latest developments regarding the funeral arrangements for the late former president, the 6th Republican President, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. As advised by the family of the 6th Republican President through a statement issued on the 19th of June 2025, the mortal remains of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu shall be buried in South Africa. For us in the Tonse Alliance, it is regrettable, although understandable, that the family of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu had to arrive at the decision to bury the mortal remains of the president in South Africa. I wish to emphasize that. For us in the Tonse Alliance, it is regrettable, although understandable, that the family of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu had to arrive at the decision to bury the mortal remains of President Edgar Lungu in South Africa. As Tonse Alliance, we would have naturally preferred that the mortal remains of Edgar Chagwa Lungu be buried in Zambia. That's what we would have preferred, that his mortal remains be buried here in Zambia. Because this would have given all of us, his colleagues, all his supporters, as well as all Zambians, an opportunity to attend his funeral and his burial. From the date that his demise was announced, we in Tonse started preparing for a mammoth turnout of our members and his supporters, as well as the general public. For us in Tonse, we would have had this as an opportunity to show that Edgar Chagwa Lungu was truly loved by many and sundry. The fact that he's to be buried in South Africa means that we've lost that opportunity. Many of his dear colleagues, many of his supporters, many of the members of the various political parties that form the Tonse Alliance will unfortunately not witness the burial of their dear departed president. And we feel extremely sad by that. Nonetheless, like I said earlier, it is understandable that the family has made the decision that they have. As all of you are aware, the service and the burial in South Africa has not yet been announced by the family. And we hope that in due course, the date shall be announced. It is our hope that the UPND government, through the Immigration Department, will facilitate the smooth passage of those who intend to travel to South Africa for the burial. We pray that the Immigration Department of government will facilitate smooth movement of our people who are desirous of going to attend the burial of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu in South Africa. The Tonse Alliance is making arrangements to facilitate for as many Zambians that loved and cherished Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu to travel for the funeral in South Africa. Those who are members of the Tonse Alliance parties who intend to travel are advised to get in touch with the leadership of Tonse for them to be guided on the preparations for travel arrangements. The second matter, which is extremely important and has been subject of a lot of debate, is the issue of the impasse between the Edgar Chagwa Lungu family and the government of Zambia. I would now like to present the Tonse Alliance understanding of the background to the current impasse between the ECL family and the government of the Republic of Zambia regarding President Edgar Chagwa Lungu's funeral arrangement. Number one, our understanding as Tonse of the current impasse between ECL family and government is that prior to his untimely demise on 10th June 2025, the 6th Republican president left strict instructions on how his funeral arrangements must be handled. That is our understanding. And this understanding is from the family. Secondly, an agreement was entered into by the two parties, the Edgar Chagwa Lungu family on one hand, and the government of the Republic of Zambia on the other hand. And that agreement accepted the demands of the family, as was announced at the joint press briefing that was held in South Africa, which was addressed jointly by the family representative in the name of Council Honorable Makebi Zulu on one hand, and Patrick Kangwa, State Secretary Cabinet, on the other hand. We saw the gentleman addressing the press saying they had resolved the points of departure. Number three, among those instructions was that the current president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, should not come anywhere close to the remains of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, and that at no time prior to burial should the state have sole custody of the mortal remains of President Edgar Lungu, and that the state should not dictate the funeral program for Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. That is our understanding of the agreement that was entered into between the state and the family of Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. It is our further understanding that the GRZ produced a funeral program where the current president and head of state, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, was not to adhere to the last dying wishes of the 6th Republican president, primarily insisting that President Hakainde Hichilema shall be the one who will receive the body, and that President Hakainde Hichilema shall be the first one to view the body. And further, that a private church service will be held upon arrival of the mortal remains at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport Presidential Pavilion. It is therefore our conclusion in the Tonse Alliance that it is the government's refusal to honor what was agreed upon between the family and the government representatives that has brought about the current deadlock between the family and government. Arising from this, there are two questions that must be answered honestly by all of us. The first question is, was it wrong for Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu to give his last dying wishes to his family? Secondly, is it wrong for Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu's family to insist on honoring the last dying wishes of their beloved one? According to what the family explained, the agreement entered into between the Lungu family and the government of the Republic of Zambia, and the latter accepted the demands of the agreement, whilst the family had given some concessions